The biggest oval on the Highline Racing League schedule. It's time to take a trip to Talladega. Welcome to a special presentation of the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. The Talladega SuperSpeedway is an iconic circuit of all motorsport, and in particular, its impact here in stock car racing, second to none. The 2.66-mile track will play host to 300 kilometers of racing. You're watching the Highline Racing League exclusively on FTN. Welcome back to our FTN coverage for the second race of the night. I'm David Kreutz, producing and commentating, and today I'll be joined by Alexander Balderas. Drivers are getting on with their first laps of the night as it stands. 5 minutes of qualifying, which will give us just enough time to get through, and we'll move on next to our 70-lap feature, coming out to just about 300 kilometers of racing, over 180 miles overall, and as it stands, over 25 drivers have registered for tonight's session, getting things going as they take to the highest banks in all of the United States. Right now, no driver has set a time to lap to this point. You see right now Dylan Boddy, Chad Winstead, and Brad Kress, among others, as Matt Muir ends up on top, and he goes topside flipping. He's going to be at the pole position by 87 thousandths and barreling over as Scott Wheeler now jumps up to provisional pole, Alex. We talked about this race for quite a few weeks now before we got into it, and it's time to witness one of the most important tracks coming to life. It's a very exciting circuit all throughout, and now it's time to see what it takes to succeed here in Talladega, just a few minutes away from our race start. How are you feeling moving back into this track here in Alabama?
Well, David, earlier just this week, about Wednesday, I did the UFL Tweets race here at Talladega with the Xfinity car, so came home fifth in that race, so my plate trig prowess really going to come in handy during this broadcast. But some notes as of yet: the Xfinity package is unlike the truck and or the next-gen package, where this package heats up more than the rest. So in line, you'll be sitting at about maybe 246, and that is over 30 degrees higher than what you would normally expect. So it is going to be different than a lot of what these people are, wondering. Hot track temps, hot tire temps. The Xfinity car are going to get loose on the long run, as most people mainly don't take tires here at Dega. We might actually see tires for a competitive advantage because of how loose it could get. The UFL race was under cloud cover. This is with the bright Alabama sun, so we could see some loose race cars heading into tonight's event.
Right now, that's not going to be much an issue with single car qualifying. The gap between first and second is less than 1,000. Scott Zellner takes the pole and comes down and in here. All but three drivers have taken a time. Right now, it's going to be Andrew Siegel, who finds himself on the circuit all the way up to the top side here. Looks like setting himself up for his second and final lap. Andrew Baker going to be on the way. DJ Stagner's on pit road. However, he's chosen not to go onto the track, and it looks like we're qualifying concluding here. Matthew Rodriguez up to the top of the board, and he blew a motor. He's going to be smoking after that lap. I think he money shifted it, but Rodriguez up to the top. All of a sudden, it's a surprise at the line. Just like that, it's going to be Andrew Siegel coming across the stripe, and he puts one lap on the board. That's going to be good right now for 28th. We'll see if he gets past here as qualifying is coming to a close. At the end of the session, Roberto Ramirez gets the jump, and the 42 is going to come through and collect the pole position with 10 seconds on the chart. Can you believe it? Qualifying has concluded, and as such, your starting grid has been set. Let's take a look top to bottom and figure out who goes where in this starting order. Just like that, Roberto Ramirez is going to find out what it takes to get to the pole position, and he moves forth to the top of the board. Let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's event from top to bottom. There's a nice look at your iRacing official pace car. Getting closer and closer and still closer. Here's a look at the field now from top to bottom. There's DJ Stagner up in front. There is Scott Zellner. So let's go from the top row on down, as it's going to be Scott Zellner at the top of the board. In the second row, your front row is still not with us. Roberto Ramirez, pole position, with Matthew Rodriguez, position number 2. Third place is going to be Scott Zellner with J.R. Houston then in 4th. And round out the top 5, it's going to be Ty Smith with Tyler Snyder, position number 6. And it's going to be them 7th and Colton Gardner, and 8th and Scott Wheeler. Wheeler getting oh so close to victory. We saw not only in the Premier Series just 2 weeks ago, but also the Truck Series. They had a fantastic finish a few weeks back, or rather a few nights back as well. And round out the top 10, Tyler Hampton in 9th, and Caleb Morrissey, who won at this track in season 15, he rounds out the top 10 of this starting grid. Now 11th from here is going to be just beyond Caleb Morrissey's reach. That's going to be Matt Muir. Lucas Lodato rounds out the top dozen after his first ever oval victory in the Premier Series. It's going to be 13th for Jimmy McKee and Alan Kunman, position number 14. 15th place will then go to Dylan Poteet with Chad Winstead in 16th, and 17th spot is going to be Dylan Wedgwood with Brad Kress, then 18th. 19th and 20th respectively go to the following 2 drivers, Connor Holden and Kendall Kerr, with 21st being Austin Bloom, 22nd then being Adam Bozzi. Kunman getting a end-of-line penalty and go to the back of the field as Jacob Hamm is 23rd with Terry Brooks, position number 24. It's Dylan Body at the site of what was his final Premier race 2 seasons ago, returning to the track tonight in 25th and 26th on the grid. Corey Blevins, 27th place. It's going to be Andrew Baker with DJ Stagner, 28th. The 29th and final driver, Andrew Siegel, lined up alone on row 15. Alex, just like that, look at our complete starting grid, just moments away from getting the green flag for the first time tonight. Now, we've seen everyone line up in qualifying. Do you think there's any final secrets to success? Well, we're just moments away from figuring out what Alex thinks. With that being said, the iRacing official pace car going to be coming through this time by for a one-and-done pace lap, since it's such a long circuit. 2.66 mile track opened in 1969, and ever since, of course, one of the most important circuits in all of stock car racing. Quick speeds, high temperatures, and tonight, that's going to be the entirety of strategy. It boils down to who can succeed despite the adverse conditions. The current track temp is 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's only gotten slightly higher as we've gone through these pace laps, qualifying and such. And now we're set to get rolling with Roberto Ramirez and the Holden Wieners, number 42, up in front. Now it's going to be the iRacing official pace car dropping down and in. It's going to be Ramirez in control with Matthew Rodriguez right up top. Let's get things going. This time by, if you've got a favorite driver, make sure to shout them out in the FTN chat room, as we are going to go green. This time by with Ramirez in front and Matthew Rodriguez there in second. Coming across the start-finish line in just a few moments, the green flag is going to drop for the first time in Talladega. We're green for 300 kilometers of non-stop action. Coming across the Alabama gang super stretch, a lap and a half. Ramirez up in front, largely 2x2 now as everyone gets filed together. Kendall Kerr going up top with his Blacktop Racing teammates, Jimmy McKee and Brad Kress. But overall, side by side, we remain as we come into that first lap and move into what is next. Up top, J.R. Houston goes up to the high side and now has some momentum, leading on the outside groove. And it looks like for Houston, as he's going to come across the stripe, a big push from Tyler Snyder. Watch out for engine temps. Snyder pushing big. That's going to give J.R. Houston the race lead for the first time. Number 20 now advantageous as we come through the lap 3 here, Alex. Now that we're on the move, anything particular to observe as drivers get in formation? And now as we're racing here, 3 laps in out of 70, the excitement continues. Looks like a little bit of a connection trouble, and we'll get Alex right back with us here. And we've been hearing a little bit about communication troubles using, of course, the platform every driver's on right now. So we'll try to get everything locked in and all together here, coming through as we come by at the end of lap number 3 into 4. Let's get back on the same page here, Alex, as we move on into lap 4 this time by. You set to see what's next here for these drivers?
Well, it's going to be interesting, David. As I was saying, you know, these lines breaking up is not something I was going to be used to here so I can't really say 2 different packs, but the amount of separation in this pack right now was not what I was expecting. 3 lines already being formed. We started out with just 3 drivers, Jimmy McKee and the likes up top. And now these guys are going to have about 5 to 6 cars up top. And they're actually going to make a 3rd lane. That 2nd lane's been falling back, and they're going to try and jump over and leapfrog that middle lane. I haven't seen something like that in a while here, because this package is usually temperature sensitive. And how they were able to get that run going and flowing was something I was not expecting here this early on.
Well, at the line, Roberto Ramirez now finds himself as the overall race leader still. Looks like he's had it on the bottom side. Control has come quickly to him. Either way, looking at a bit of a wiggle for J.R. Houston, and he's going to keep it straight. But either way, 3 wide doesn't bear all too well in every circumstance. That was very tricky. Luckily, everyone keeps it straight. That could have been substantially worse, however, and now we're going to get a little bit more of a tame atmosphere coming across this time by. Holden with J.R. Houston side by side again, and it looks like for now won't see as much trouble as drivers come through. 5 laps in out of 70, and we're moving on to the 6th this time by. Now it's going to be double file for the overall race lead, and you are going to see Scott Zellner still pushing here. He's got Roberto Ramirez. He's with all the same. And as such, looking further at the field, now Tyler Snyder decides to go up high and make it 3 wide.
Snyder deciding to make it 3 wide, but this 3rd lane still trying to make something work. These 3 cars up top have not been able to been that strong, compared to the bottom lane after they lost some of their help. About 4 cars up top there, now maybe 3. As I believe that's Kress that's going to slot back in line. So now 2 up top. That's going to make them fall back. J.R. Houston leads that 2nd lane with Connor Holden right behind him. And I was really impressed with how the 20 was able to save it. He did a great job holding on, and now he's able to try and fight again for the 42, Roberto Ramirez. And Roberto Ramirez has been leading this whole race. That bottom lane is really just a stronger lane right now. But once Holden gets some temperature, we could see that outside lane start to shuffle back down to the bottom as the 2nd car in line will save enough temp to push the leader of that lane over, and it'll just keep going on in a loop or so if that guy on the bottom can't be strong enough to push it.
Now seeing some familiar paint schemes up in front. It's going to be Swamp Motorsports with Connor Holden and Ty Smith up at the head of the field. Looks like these 2 drivers working at each other, and they're on different grooves right now, as it looks like it's going to be the 18 to the bottom, the 81 up to the middle, and the Blacktop Racing Brigade is up high. That's the 3rd groove. All 4 teammates working with each other and decide to make that 3rd line work out. Now this is when that team support means a lot more at a plate track like this. When you have drivers you can work with, you can easily cut through the air. And that's what we're seeing right now all the way up to the high side here. That team building, getting the line together and going. It's essential, and we're watching it right now.
Well, you can see the breakup that that goes on through these lanes, that separation of people trying to get their cars cooler in temperature. Really, if you're third on back, it would be better to just sit in line and try and ride behind the guy, maybe peak for a little bit of temp, but unless you know you're going to be having to push the guy in front of you, being able to control your temperature and just kind of sitting in line and getting the run that you need with your certain line is going to be the better strategy. But like I was saying, J.R. Houston leads that middle lane, and he's actually going to be ahead of Roberto Ramirez all the way down the back straightaway and entering 3. And that's that power surge I was going to be talking about with that outside lane. Unable to push Roberto Ramirez and Scott Zellner. And J.R. Houston, if he gets clear, will probably drop down to the front of the 42 because he'll know he has the temp to push him. He's been sitting out front in this whole race. So definitely the 42 going to have that temperature now. Tries to slide down. Brad Crest able to clear. But right now, Brad Crest is going to shoot it to the lead.
And Brad Crest now taking that top spot side by side with J.R. Houston once again. And these two drivers are going to be awful close to one another here as they're making it through 9 laps in out of 70. 3 wide, multiple lanes deep as it stands. And you are going to see there a little bit closer. Tyler Snyder going to be with Kendall Kerr and the like. And as these drivers keep each other honest, you got to wonder now, 9 laps in out of 70. Maybe already thinking about the long run here in regards to keeping it straight and keeping it together. A lot of drivers here, while they're close, haven't really been all too aggressive, and it's good to see maybe long-term thinking as opposed to really risking it too early. As it stands, double file has been the norm. A few instances maybe otherwise, but so far these drivers have been calm and collected for the most part, and that's been the biggest of deals.
And David, that's exactly right. These guys, even though making aggressive moves, have not made it to a point where it's so aggressive, you have to wonder, should I be this aggressive this early on? They've been enough to be composed and calm this far out. Maybe we've seen a couple of guys have some scary moments to keep it under composure. And like I said again, that second lane getting pushed by the 23 of Terry Brooks. He'll go to the back end of the 20 of J.R. Houston. But he believes in the 23. He'll stay up top. He was clear for a moment on that inside lane of Connor Holden, unable to drop down and get clear. But right now that 20 will lead that outside lane. He has been strong all the way through this middle lane, has not bobbled once, apart from that one time he did get loose, but really has been in control. I'd say part control of this race, as there has been not a single lead change on that outside lane.
Yeah, the inside's been going up and down, and we are expecting a little more of the shuffling on that middle groove, but it looks like the bottom side is where it's been all up and down again. You see there the Swamps number 81 of Connor Holden now in control. The last 4 laps, his gap to the leader has changed substantially because now he finds himself in the position of the leader. He's down to the inside, getting that run nicely, and as such, he's the driver with the big advantage right now. He was about a 1/10 of a second back on lap 8, took the lead overall on lap 9, and was just a few thousandths off at the stripe the previous lap. Coming across the line again, and you can see now it looks like it's Kendall Kerr with an opportunity. It's now the number 21 pushing with Tyler Snyder, and Snyder gets let go. He will be sent all the way down to the bottom of the track. Just like that, Snyder going to find himself already taking it through. He goes from the top to the bottom quickly, and just like that, going to choose to work with Connor Holden. Everyone now cruising at a speed of 190 miles an hour. Everyone in the field going back to DJ Stagner, separate by about 2.6 seconds. Stagner choosing to hang back right now. Everyone else a little bit closer to your overall race leader. And just like that, it's Snyder, Holden, Houston, and a few others here who are working nice, but overall 2x2 has left minimal opportunity to make things happen. J.R. Houston still the dominant man on the outside groove, Alex, but otherwise it looks like the inside has been a revolving door of drivers as we're 13 laps in, and it's still nobody's race just yet.
Well, new leader in Tyler J. Snyder on that inside lane with help from Connor Holden. That's a bit of a switch up now. Scott Zellner slots back to 4th in line, and that inside lane does shuffle quite a bit, but it's not shuffling in the way I thought it would. J.R. Houston has been in that middle lane ever since the start of the race, and usually what happens is that that outside lane compared to the inside lane will get a stronger push around the outside. You can side draft the car below you, and then you'll have a chance at an opportunity to try and pass the leader and shuffle back ahead. And that usually is what happens over and over again. But these guys on the inside have just been shuffling around, but Connor Holden had dropped back a couple times and now is back up. And J.R. Houston has been leading that outside lane ever since. and it's been no other show around it. He's been confident up there, knowing that Terry Brooks could push him. That 23 has been solidly locked on his bumper this whole time. Roberto Ramirez, who was leading that inside lane, is now third on the outside, and that just shows how much this race has shuffled. Once had a three-lane wide going, and now we just have 2 lanes. Now Kendall Kerr filing behind the 42, and Jimmy McKee filing behind him. These guys all up on that second lane, and they really haven't bobbled around too much, as they know that we're only 14 laps into a 70-lap race, so we are just barely underway in terms of grand scheme of things, but we already have a significant amount of time that has passed, so wondering if these guys will get more aggressive or calm down.
Now, I'm thinking for the time being, if they're also worried about the issue in regard to temperature, they're going to stay the way they are for at least this first run. Usually when we go down to Talladega, the big thing is that first run before the green flag pit stops, if we ever get to the green flag pit stops, mind you, that's when the race really separates itself from those who can fight for the win, and those will be far out of the picture. Succeeding in the green flag pit stop is crucial, and right now we're 15 laps in at a 70, so we're give or take about a quarter of the way through this race. We have gotten through a substantial distance so far, even though it might not feel like it with these drivers standing still. They're getting themselves set up for what is left. Emma Ox in the chat room rooting for Adam Bozzi tonight, and as it stands, Adam finds himself in the thick of the fight among many other drivers here. So when we look back at Adam, he's in 26th right now, rolling with Lucas Lodano, Andrew Siegel, and the company back here. Still a lot of time to go, so I wouldn't doubt Adam for a second in regards to getting back up there, but there's a long road ahead from 26th on up. So, Austin Bloom going to be right there, Tyler Hampton as well, and how about Dylan Poteet in 18th? Alex, on Tuesday night in the Highline Racing League Truck Series, we saw a fantastic finish, and since we got a little bit of time, can you break it down for us?
What we saw last week was an absolute show. We saw a three-way battle for the lead, and Dylan Poteet was able to come out on top. An incredible battle at Chicagoland brought us to one of the greatest finishes in Highline history. It could have been oh so close for Scott Wheeler Jr., and it was between him and DJ Stagner. And he was so close to a win too, split between 300ths of a second. I do expect that at a super speedway, not at a mile and a half, but that just goes to show how much great racing we have in the Highline Racing League Series. And with all that being said, Dylan Poteet could try and move his way up through the field, but right now being in the thick of things may not be where he wants to be for an eternity. And now, on that note, that brings me to strategy-wise here at a plate track. Usually, I like to be at the front. If I'm at the front, I get to control the lanes, and I get to be able to, avoid the wrecks that happen behind me, because they're going to happen behind me. Now, hindsight's 20, and you would like to say that, you want to be in the lead all you want, but even if you are just in the front, maybe in the second line, you can still, if you're on the bottom, pop down to the bottom and avoid any of the, wrecks that ensue. If you're in the middle of the pack, that's one of the worst places to be at Dega, especially when it's like 5 laps to go, because of how much stress and how much eagerness that these guys have to get the win because it's a plate track. Being in the middle of the pack is not one of the best places to be. There's a quote by Kevin Harvick that I kind of live by, especially when going on. It's that when you go on the top, you pile into it. Being on the bottom, you can try and avoid the wreck.
And right now for J.R. Houston, despite his consistent dominance of that second groove, when it becomes the middle, it's a much worse circumstance to be in. You're right about that much. We're watching J.R. right now, and he's held up on that groove unlike anyone else. They've been moving up and down all around him, but that number 20 has remained consistent, and nobody has taken him off of his feet here. He's been firmly planted inside of that position, and as such, he's been consistently a top 2 driver lap after lap. At the line again for Houston, he's going to be the driver who gets the lead here in a 1 and 2. He's got it up there, but being 3 wide middle, it's worse when you don't have help, because if you don't have help, you can't even pull yourself out of the situation. Right now, we don't really see much an example of that, as they're once again going to be largely 2x2. But when you get drawn down that middle line without anyone with you, it's almost as if you're in a vortex and you're pulled further back, and further back. maybe like what's happening to Matthew Rodriguez right now on the top, but he's got a load of side draft to maybe keep him in it. It's not going to be a guarantee, but Rodriguez should have an opportunity to slide in just a few moments. From 29th on the grid, Andrew Siegel up to 16th, a big mover making 13 positions up. Alan Cumming about where he qualified, but that's after a end-of-line penalty he got in qualifying. And now he's there with a lot of his teammates here. One thing we did mention previously, Blacktop Racing being really well organized. We see a few of the Swamp Motorsports guys in the same groove. Queen City Racing as well, Alex. When it comes to your personal experience with a team, how important is it to have drivers around you can trust at Talladega?
Well, it's important to have teammates at any plate track you go. Knowing people that can push you well and knowing people you can work with well is one of the greatest things you can learn at a plate track. Having friends and having a size and number and having power in numbers is one of the best things to have at a plate track like this. But one thing you also need to realize as a plate racer, that your friends are also your biggest enemies, because at the end of the race, they will try and race you for the win. So being able to call, like what they call a quarterback in football, a playmaker, and being able to see those different opportunities to where you can work with other people and use them to get back up to the lead is going to be one of the most crucial skills to learn as a plate driver. Being able to make your way and cut up through the field on your own with no real help or friendship. If you can do that, you're pretty much locked in to at least have a more than definite chance for the win. Everybody in this field, no matter what, has a chance to win this race. Add on these other skills you can learn, and that chance only increases. And so with these guys, knowing that skill is going to be one of the most important things that they need to take home and they need to learn, especially from one of the biggest and fastest plate tracks like Talladega.
And look at the team up top. It's going to be Blacktop Racing again with a number 48 of Jimmy McKee now leading the charge. And right now, Tyler Snyder opting to go down to the bottom. Snyder, who's worked with Blacktop Racing all throughout the season, runs down to the bottom groove here. So maybe an opportunity to squeeze that JR Houston line out. You see there, JR really doesn't have all too many drivers, but he's in the middle with just enough help. And he's got Terry Brooks, who's been loyal, right behind him. In addition, Roberto Ramirez rushing down the back straightaway here. And it's going to be Tyler Snyder down to the bottom side. Still doesn't have quite the run. And right now, it looks like it's the top side that has that clear advantage. Rushing each and every lap in. It looks like McKee going to get a bit of a wiggle. And JR Houston not going to lay an easy bumper there on the 88. So Jimmy gets sent right back up the track. That could have been a little bit dicier, but all things considered, it's going to be just enough for everyone to keep it straight as we come across the line again. Now McKee going to try to lead. There's the number 48 machine getting by JR Houston. And now JR up top. I think he's out of line for the first time all race. And we've waited 23 laps to see if anyone can take that 20 from where he was off his line. I think we just see it here, Alex. And as such, Tyler Snyder's got the advantage.
And David, what we saw there was a perfect example of why you need to have absolute trust in your teammates. Cunman was pushing Jimmy McKee, and it was a phenomenal push that got him up to the lead, but they were not clear of JR Houston. And if you want to make sure that no matter what, you have a guy behind you, you have to make sure that you're both clear, unless you stay up there and you work with them continuously, unless you know that the guy that is pushing you can work his way back up and be with you in the end. As because we can see now, the Jimmy McKee is fifth. He's fifth in line now, as he is second on that top side lane. JR Houston now jumps up to the top. You can see there, he got up to the lead, but he didn't really know what to do without his teammate. Tried to throw a couple blocks, didn't really work, got shuffled out of line, and now he's on that top side, and it looks like JR Houston wants to get by him. So not a great spot and not a great opportunity there for the 48, unable to capitalize with his teammate, Alan Cunman. And that's just what happens if you don't have complete trust in your teammates and unable to get that run sorted out. Jimmy McKee will slot back. Now he's below the top 10, having to fight with Kendall Kerr. That's the spot for 11. So a lot of these guys having to do work now in the middle of the field. And that's why, David, you were mentioning how teammates are an absolutely crucial part here at Dega, and that is exactly why.
Well, looks like once again a few of the Blacktop boys going to be falling down the running order. However, let's take a look at a few other of the four horsemen, perhaps. You see Scott Zellner up in front. Last time we went to Talladega in this league, it was none other than Caleb Morrissey, the Jonestown Jet, who got it done. The number 6 pulling through in a day where he only led about 3 or 4 laps, but that was his second win of the season. Caleb Morrissey found himself content on that final season of the Next Gens, ever since struggling a little bit more. Some flashes of speed, as we know he has it, but it's been a while since he's gone back to victory lane, winning at Nashville and Talladega 2 seasons ago. Maybe an opportunity to bring himself back in tonight. He wasn't the dominant driver that day, however, he was there when it mattered, and of course when that white flag flew, he went gunning through and got his channel lock number 6 up to victory lane. Now, last season taking a little bit of a step back, and this season maybe returning to form just a little bit more. Matthew Rodriguez is going to go sliding. Do we keep it together? 2 drivers sliding.
Caution!
Morrissey, caution's out.
Caution is out.
And Logano gets involved. So does Andrew Baker.
Oh, man, the wreck after the wreck. Andrew Baker goes completely around the track. What happened there?
It looked like it was a one-driver incident with Rodriguez at first. Here's a look back. I don't think we caught everything in slow-mo here with the FTN instant replay. Matthew Rodriguez and McKee make contact. That is the 48. And then looks like Jimmy McKee got into Caleb Morrissey. Then the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez gets slow. And then Corey Blevins goes down. And then Chad Winstead slides, gets almost into Jacob Hamm. Dylan Wedgwood is slow. And as Lucas Lodato gets in the mix, he's taken up by Andrew Baker. So it's an aftershock. Looks like if Jimmy McKee didn't tag Caleb Morrissey, maybe we would have gotten away with it. It was close, but in the first 27 laps, that is our yellow number 1. Caution is out, and among others, Caleb Morrissey, Dylan Wedgwood, Lucas Lodato, Chad Winstead, Corey Blevins, Andrew Baker, and Matthew Rodriguez involved, not to mention Jimmy McKee as well. So about 10 drivers in that one, and the yellow flag flies for the first time today.
Yeah, and that incident after the caution had already come out, that was Dylan J. Body. He had come up the track almost like a rocket ship straight up after the wreck. And Andrew Baker really had the perfect amount of time to avoid him. He maybe would have scraped him, but any driver would do their best to avoid do their best to avoid a car coming straight up the track. And unfortunately, that is just unfortunate when he tried to come up the track, that he was side by side with Lucas Lodato. The 33 is going to go up almost into the air. And so the wreck after the caution is just down to driver error. But a caution for the first time here tonight at Talladega, and things are already getting interesting.
Time to pull through. J.R. Houston going to be coming down to the bottom side. He's got Tyler Snyder and, of course, the rest of the leading pack coming in together. Just like that. First pit stop cycle of the day. It is in motion. 4 tires and fuel most likely going to be the recipe. Maybe just a few moments away. A few laps, rather, from going from here on out and finishing it off. I don't quite expect that to be the case. I think we're going to see one more pit stop overall. Let's see who makes it out first here, though. Ramirez is going to be right up against the camera, but I think at the line, it looks like we got one driver getting the run. It's going to be J.R. Houston on the way out, and Houston will beat the field with Connor Holden, Roberto Ramirez, Tyler Snyder, and Scott Zellner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off of pit road, and the rest of the field going to be making their way right out. No troubles in, no troubles out, and it looks like everyone gets back on the way here. 28 laps in, J.R. Houston still in control.
And that was a great pit stop by J.R. Houston. He came in leading on pit road, but every time you lead on pit road, there's always a possibility that you may not come out as the leader. But that was the most perfect pit stop I've seen. He came in as the leader, knew exactly what to do, and he came out with the lead intact.
So now JR going to find himself up ahead. Big gains for Connor Holden. Now we got to see who else to look out for here. Lucas Lodato looks to be on pit road. That might be his night already, given the severe damage we saw with he and Andrew Baker. Caleb Morrissey still getting some extended damage repair. Same goes for Matthew Rodriguez. Matt Muir just got back on the way. That leaves us with 23 drivers to confirm on the lead lap, and that's going to go back to Jacob Hallman, 22nd here, DJ Stagner, 21st, and all the way on up. Everyone gets bunched in again. Adam Bozzi, Dylan Wedgwood, Colton Gardner up to 14th here, Jimmy McKee still inside of the Baker's dozen. He's in 13th. And as everyone gets jumbled in, we're going to be choosing this time by long pace laps here at Talladega, given the overall length of the circuit. So a little bit of a break from the action, and we are set to return in just about a lap. It's time coming across the front straightaway here. The start and finish line at Talladega famously moved about 500 feet further back, so you got to wait a little bit longer to get to the checkered flag in the case of a photo finish. Not like Daytona, where it's dead in the middle. You come right out of the start-finish line and then move on here. And here you go again. Now, one lap to green, and JR goes low. Connor Holden up high, and top side for the 81. We'll see what he can do here. Swap Motorsports setting up nicely, and wow, it's a second wave on pit road. With the exception of 9 drivers, everyone goes in again.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising. Well, I'd say it's a little bit surprising, and it's a little bit not. Because you want to come up and top off so you have as much fuel as possible, because that will multiply if you're in the back of the pack, lifting a lot and not being on the gas as much as the leaders are. That little bit of extra fuel that you'll have, plus whatever you're saving behind them, will add up in a few extra laps that you will have over the leaders. So if this does go green, they're planning it out perfect for a green flag pit stop.
So it looks like maybe perhaps going a little bit longer is the goal here. These pace laps, given their length, are definitely going to affect the overall time allowed to use the fuel, and perhaps a little bit longer could be the difference between going all the way and not making it happen. This time by 29 laps in out of 70, we return at lap number 30. It's going to be J.R. Houston up in front this time by. First caution of the day hopefully doesn't breed anything more, but it's going to be Houston who gets to settle the score on the bottom side again. So far, the night's most consistent driver. Maybe a chance to get the lead on the bottom side here as he starts down low. This time through, it's going to be the 20 of Houston, the 81 of Holden, and then Connor Holden, Roberto Ramirez, right there with Tyler Snyder, your fast 4. And now, a big move up from last to 6th, Andrew Siegel. Ty Smith going to be up there for the swamp as well in 7th. And Matthew Rodriguez, despite the caution, he's on the high side and lonely in 8th. The entire rest of the field is single file down low. It's an awfully lopsided bottom groove that has so many more drivers. Only 4 on the outside as we are set to get things going this time by running through the Geico restart zone and bringing it back to green for restart number 1. J.R. Houston grabs the gears and gets us going once more. Working across the back straightaway, Roberto Ramirez with the advantage here. He's going to have Tyler Snyder right behind him. Alex, it's a much different restart here. Look at how far out the entire field is spaced. And given the fact most drivers started single file, we're going to take a lot more time to bunch up again. The entire field back to Lucas Lodato, separated by 5 seconds, damage or otherwise. It is a much different atmosphere as we return to the green flag action. And now Brad Kress going to take his teammate Alan Cunman all the way up high, making it 3 wide for the race lead again.
Absolutely, David. That separation that we saw in the restart was unlike any Talladega restart I've ever seen. But once again, comfortable in that second lane, J.R. Houston. He will slot up to that second lane. He went up right in front of Connor Holden, and they've been working it good so far. Now it's Dylan Poteet back in the mix. He has been able to cut his way through the field, is now within the top 10. And currently leading that outside lane is Brad Kress with Alan Cunman right behind him. But these guys are 3 wide for the lead and not giving up anything. Right now, that second lane in the middle, unable to really make a supercharge because they only got 3 people in there as the rest of the field goes to the top and to the bottom. So I wonder how much this middle lane is going to work, especially when Connor Holden starts to get hot. That's going to be an issue. Dylan Poteet could maybe swap with him, but The only issue is once Poteet gets hot and Connor Holden gets hot, that's going to be a real issue if the other lines don't back out.
Now looks like the number 42 of Roberto Ramirez on the bottom side to bunch J.R. Houston further in. 3 wide middle for the race lead, and already no hesitation from the Blacktop boys who have decided to make that third groove their temporary home, although I'm sure they'd like to make it permanent if it means they can take the lead for a little bit longer. Now J.R. Houston going to lay the bumper on Brad Kress. He decides to swap up high, and he's going to bring that entire top side into his control. I think that's actually going to help him out here to maybe get down to the bottom. They're going to try to push him out the way. Roberto Ramirez on the bottom side now has the lead right down low. What's the call for Brad Kress? He can go anywhere he wants. The answer, he'll take Connor Holden right down low with them, and it's going to be continued defense as they come into lap number 33. So Brad Kress now going to separate himself from the team. J.R. Houston has just about sacrificed himself. As you see there, the entire team gets once again assimilated into the main pack. J.R. Houston losing positions and losing them quick. Different look now. Lucas Oil's number 21. Kendall Kerr decides to regroup it again. Will J.R. Houston try to follow? It looks like for now he won't. And Kendall Kerr going to be out there lonely as Connor Holden and Dylan Poteet are now first and second on the middle groove trying to get away from Brad Kress. And now the 81 is the man who leads on the bottom.
Connor Holden now swapping back down to the bottom. He will lead that inside lane. Dylan Poteet with a strong charge to lead up through the middle. What once was the middle now is that third lane has become disilluted, and they've now fallen back. Dylan Poteet has been done quite a drive to get back all the way up here to the front of the field. Remember when we last talked about him, he was 18th before the caution had come out. That caution definitely helped him out a little bit, but raw plate speed, he's gotten up all the way back to that top position now. Dylan Wedgwood is going to push the 31 back down to that inside lane. J.R. Houston is back up with the 98. Right behind him is Kendall Kerr and Jimmy McKee. Those top 4 are right alongside each other, right along tail to tail, as Kendall Kerr looks to pop out to the outside. And that's a little bit aggressive for getting temperature, but whatever cools the motor in the end. Wedgwood slots up as now J.R. Houston is going to split it 3 wide up the middle.
And there goes Houston once again, not hesitant to be a bit riskier. And just like that, it's the number 20 back up to the top of the board. Big move there for J.R. Houston. And as such, he's going to find himself getting a few spots, but overall still not with the race lead as Dylan Poteet pulls away once again. Looks like the middle groove not going to prevail, but cooler heads will, and the big red 31 is going to bring the Swamps 81 right there with them. Top 2 get away. Dylan Wedgwood right back up top, and as such, J.R. Houston now trying to find room, but I don't think he quite knows exactly what's the best place to go. Still got a little bit of time to decide, so we shouldn't worry all too much about that. 3 wide, it's going to be Scott Wheeler, Allen coming there with Andrew Siegel, and the middle of the field is once again packed up, and it is a tight pack to say the least. And now 25 drivers within 2 seconds of your race leader Connor Holden, as it's going to be 4 wide with Houston, Brad Kress, Dylan Wedgwood, and Tyler Snyder for just a moment. Luckily everyone keeps it together, and they're once again 2 by 2 up at the head of the field.
Well, that shock there up the inside was certainly something that J.R. Houston now trying to make an attempt to go back up, but that top lane is going to get a surge here. They've got about 6 cars up there, and so they will make a reappearance no matter what. And that's going to be Dylan Wedgwood who leads it now, but this middle lane has really gotten the barrage of people that it didn't have before. And so as we go to the outside lane, Connor Holden going to lead up the middle and try and do something. And he might actually pass Connor Holden, might pass Dylan Poteet for the lead here if he gets his run strong enough from Roberto Ramirez pushing him. He is clear. Does he drop down to the bottom in the middle of the corner? Let's see. No, he doesn't. No late block. He's going to stay with the 42, and he'll have help from behind. And Tyler J. Snyder is doing absolutely all of the work to keep that inside lane where it is right now, pushing the nose off of Dylan Poteet, with Scott Zellner being a ways of a way behind. That inside lane, I'm still shocked, is even up there and in contention, if not leading.
Snyder remains down to the bottom side with Dylan Poteet. The bottom groove really has quite a lot of space here, and Scott Zellner might be the man to fill it. Looking back down to the man who's running in 10th right now, Zellner, who finds himself just a few spots away from the top 5, maybe a chance to slot right in if he so pleases. At the stripe, he remains about 0.3 of a second away from your overall lead. That's the closest he's been in the past 5 laps now, so maybe Zellner, with a little bit more patience, can get himself right into the mix. As high as 2nd and as low as 10th. Overall, it's been a very calm and consistent night for Scott Zellner. Hasn't really fluctuated all too much, and given the fact he's remained in the top 10 for just about every lap today, goes to show the pace he's had, because usually that means you're up inside of the first 5 rows without any other trouble. And now Zellner going to put himself down to the bottom, getting a little bit more pressure from those middle and high side grooves respectively. The high side is come and gone. The middle grooves remain a little bit more permanent. And at the line again, it looks like it's going to be Poteet and Holden doing battle, and Dylan Wedgwood still the driver up top trying to make something work. Alex, when it comes to that third groove, we've seen many attempts so far to make it happen up there, but nothing has quite stuck so far for a really serious attempt at holding it for a more than 2-lap period or so. You think there's any chance to make groove number 3 come to life?
I mean, that would take a lot to work, David. A lot of these guys have to get up there. They have to be confident. Oh, and there they go. J.R. Houston slides up to the top side lane with Roberto Ramirez, leaves Connor Holden in the dust in the middle. And now he'll push the 42 out to a lead on that outside lane. Connor Holden side drafting that inside lane, trying to save what was a good run with him and J.R. Houston now. But J.R. might be stuck on that outside lane. Couldn't drop down with the 42. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, he's going to try and squeeze, and he'll barely be able to fit. And that was a bold move.
And now they're getting a little bit close for comfort. Keep in mind, we got a lapper coming up here, so room might be taken away fast. Tyler Snyder diving ahead first in what could be a little bit of trouble. We've got Lucas Lodato coming right up next. Lucas going to be the first of 2 drivers to go 1 lap down here. Corey Blevins might be up next with the next 10 or 15 laps, and there goes Lodato. He'll slide down and in, and he will give the field absolutely no trouble. 31 laps to go this time by. We are first, of course, beyond the halfway marker, and now moving closer and closer to the checkered flag. So the attitude with these drivers is it's going to change. That is in no doubt. With the way these drivers are working through the first half, only 1 caution. It's been a largely calm event. But if you want to go out there and win at Talladega, you're going to end up ruffling some feathers no matter what. We're going to see that. It's just the nature of the track. So we got to wonder, when is that move going to be made that really signifies the coming of the aggressive age for the rest of the night? 30 laps to go here, I think, Alex. It'll be sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, David. The aggression levels in this field is going to increase as the laps wind down, getting closer and closer to that checkered flag is going to inspire a fire in these guys to get to the lead and to try and stay up there as Tyler J. Snyder with a big block down to the low side will get right in front of the 31 of Poteet. Now, Roberto Ramirez unable to do anything on that outside lane. J.R. Houston now trying to come out to the back bumper, and it's going to be a close one. A lot of these guys trying to move around. And being aggressive now is Dylan Poteet looking to go to the outside. He may try and pass Tyler J. Snyder here, as that was a big push to get air. But Roberto Ramirez still leads that middle lane with J.R. Houston pushing him. But there's a lot of big gaps in that middle lane. And so that's what I fear is keeping them from pushing on and trying to pass everyone else. So unfortunately, that's going to make a lot of these guys stay back here, stay stagnant without that run being generated from all those cars being in that one lane. That's going to hold them back quite a fair bit. Poteet now pushing Tyler J. Snyder still, with Roberto Ramirez and J.R. Houston being the double tandem on the outside lane. And these two have been working together now for a good majority of the race, as Roberto Ramirez was the inside leader for a long time. With J.R. Houston on his outside, they find each other bumper to bumper.
Tyler Snyder's number 87 still leads, but now those spots are being filled closer and closer. Scott Zellner up to 5th, so he's made up a little bit more of that time. And now it's going to be 28 laps to go. Single file is not going to be the case right now, especially up in front where it's been 2x2 for the most of this race. And it looks like, despite all troubles, Roberto Ramirez and company have held that outside line very well so far. Looks like they are far from giving in. However, the inside is stacked up much longer. You see guys like Kendall Kerr, Matt Muir, and then further on back, Colton Gardner and the like. The bottom groove, it is large, and everyone's going to be stacked up on it all the way, going back to the final drivers on the lead lap. And notably right now, that's going to go back to DJ Stagner, who runs in 25th. Stagner's decided to take the initiative, being the final driver on the lead lap, no matter who that will be in terms of position. He's decided to keep himself right there and hold his own. DJ Stagner right now going to find himself 25th, 2.5 seconds back on your overall leaders, and as such, he just remained in line, hasn't had to worry at all about getting involved in an incident, and as such, I think his plan is just to wait until about the final 5 laps and make a hard charge and hope he gets the best out of it.
And that's going to be tough, because moving up to the field in Dega is especially a tough challenge with a package like this. Being so temperature biased and so temperature sensitive, you have to know not only how to manage the temps perfectly enough to get a good enough run to push the guy ahead of you, but to be able to do that and pass through the field is an incredibly hard test to do. So the fact that these guys have been this much moving around and this much shuffling in the field already has been absolutely incredible to see. Right now, Tyler J. Snyder pushing the 42, Roberto Ramirez on that low side lane, Connor Holden back up with the 20 on that middle lane, with Jimmy McKee in tow with Terry Brooks following. Dylan Poteet third on that inside lane, and a lot of these guys shuffling and moving around, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. A lot of these guys are actually back with familiar faces. We were talking about how good and important friends are, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. These guys are battling it out, but with people they've done since the beginning of the race. Now, J.R. Houston leads. He'll go down to that bottom side lane, and this is about what I expected to happen since lap 1. That outside lane gets past about 1 car from the bottom lane, and the leader of the outside drops down to the low side and continues the cycle. As we might see that continue here, Jimmy McKee is starting to close in on Connor Holden.
Now, J.R. Houston might be the exception to every rule so far tonight. Been up in front, and no matter what groove, that number 20 machine has found a way all the way back up. Now, I gotta wonder, though, even though that is the case, is that really an advantage given how much time we overall still have? Houston been one of the more aggressive drivers overall, finding opportunities where none other will find them, and as such, been a little bit riskier. Do these risk-taking maneuvers end up having a negative side effect as the race progresses, or is it best to stay like this for the entirety of the remaining event and just hope, of course, to not get caught up in someone else's business? I think that right now has to be one of the bigger questions here, as Connor Holden going to have a Holden Wiener's car right behind him in the form of Roberto Ramirez. Also, the Blacktop boys coming together again. You see Tyler Snyder. He's going to be running with Jimmy McKee. And right now, Jimmy in the number 48 running up to the top side. Going to be 2x2 again for the race lead, but Connor Holden now maybe with a slight edge at the line. No, J.R. Houston gets it right back, but you can see your top 2 drivers on each line respectively. They pull away just a bit, and it looks like they'll get the advantages in the 1 and 2. Notably, J.R. Houston all of a sudden looks like he's got the overall top speed of every driver, even though he has no draft, and that might be because of lappers coming up, and that might just be the draft of Corey Blevins, who the field is approaching at a rapid pace. So watch out here, because with 24 laps to go, we got a lapper in the form of the number 24 coming up very soon on the field.
Well, David, you were saying, and you mentioned a few laps ago, that the aggression level that J.R. Houston had to be up here leading a lot of these laps and being up in the top 3, if not the top 5, for a majority of the race, if that should continue. I absolutely think that should continue. He's doing almost exactly what I would do with a plate track. You want to manage all the lanes you can without being so aggressive that you make people angry and they want to hand you and they want to send you back through the field. He's done just enough, and actually he's had people apologize to him. So it's been an absolutely incredible race to watch, and we may see another version of that in Adam Bozzi up through the middle, all by his lonesome, and he could challenge for the lead with help from Jimmy McKee up the backside now. As things tend to get shuffled around, Brad Kress, slow move down to the bottom. Kendall Kerr isn't clear of Adam Bozzi. They will be 3 wide for the lead. Brad Kress now opens up to a lead. Now this will be interesting. Adam Bozzi slots up right in front of Kendall Kerr now, as they're going to lead this middle lane. Terry Brooks, with help from Alan Kunman, into 2-car topside lane, with a 4-car middle lane and everyone else riding on the bottom. However, this separation is going to be big for a lot of these guys, because with that separation comes with a less speed in the overall run. when you're not closely packed together, that's not enough energy to try and surge over that bottom lane.
Now, we now have 22 laps to go this time by, and as always, we're going to crank it up courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. In the heat of the lead battle, Bozzy going at it now with the rest of the field, and you're going to see all the views with the highest quality cameras on the iRacing platform. Check out TrackCams22.com after tonight's broadcast, and we will return after a crank it up with 22 to go, brought to you by our friends at TrackCams22.com.
Whoa, trouble! And there goes the field. Adam Bozzi will go around. Major damage to a lot of competitors. Chad Winstead goes sliding. Brad Kress goes sliding. Adam Bozzi collected. J.R. Houston collected. That is the big one.
Just like that, J.R. Houston's hood went flying. Can you believe it? We've got the yellow flag out for the second time tonight. Here's an instant replay as we're going to take a look back at the incident as it unfolded. It looked like it started up at the front of the field. Kunman with Kerr. Then they all got stacked up, and we'll bring you one better angle here. Just like that, caution flies. It starts with the front runners. Looks like the Blacktop boys came undone. Well, let's see what caused it here as we look back one time around here. Alex, can you bring us through it?
I can bring you through it, David. And as these guys were going down the back straightaway, it's just unfortunate there. Adam Bozzi, it looks like he was one of the causes of this caution, you know. And being involved in a caution at Dega is one of the worst things to happen out of anybody. And it is unfortunate. He was making a charge up through the field, and Terry Brooks right behind him just slides him. Oh, and then gets turned Kendall Kerr by Alan Kunman up top, and that just involves the rest of the field. Everyone comes sliding in. And Dega, usually not a self-cleaning racetrack, but in this respect, the backstretch is sort of like that. As across the track goes Kendall, and the 27 of Bozzi gets collected by Zellner and Kress, and then later in the wreck by others as well. And so that involved, at minimum, another 10 drivers.
I think it might have been a little bit more. Yellow flag is out yet again. 53 laps in out of 70, and as such, we are now going to bring ourselves back under pacing, and I think pit road is going to be the destination spot for some drivers, not others, and it looks like now Terry Brooks finds himself the overall race leader, but yep, majority of the field's going to come in. There's Kunman and the like. I don't know what Brooks' plan is here, but he decides to stay out. Maybe some fuel saving for him and trying to do some wizardry there, but everyone else decides it's proper to go down and in, and so they will. And just like that, Brooks Out in front, Tyler Snyder, Caleb Morrissey, and Lucas Lodato. Lodato going to get his lap back as a result. Choose to stay out on the track. And coming across the line here, it looks like your new leader off of pit row will be Andrew Siegel. The best he's looked all night long, and that number 16, he moves up to 4th. Scott Wheeler is going to be 5th. Alan Cummins is 6th overall, and Dylan Wedgwood then 7th with 8th. Jimmy McKee, 9th. Colton Gardner, and 10th. Austin Bloom. 17 laps remaining. We'll be back to green with only 15 laps left.
And with only 15 laps to go, this race is coming to a close. And it's been an exciting one here in the booth, David, as we've seen a lot more action than I thought we were. It was a lot going to be sitting in line, and for a little bit, that's what it seemed like it was going to be. But then they all started moving around, getting very, very aggressive. And this front half of the field has been absolutely changing lanes. They've been changing lines, and they've been absolutely moving around, something I did not expect to see, especially that early on, and continued throughout the whole race.
Now it's going to be a completely different look up in front, not only with Andrew Siegel making it up there, but also the drivers who have decided to stay out on the circuit. It's Terry Brooks, who's still up in front here on a 26 laps run with 17 to go. Maybe there's a chance he goes all the way. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the attempt, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he comes down to pit road here. The verdict for Terry Brooks, we're going to find it out here as you ride on board. It's quite quiet inside the cockpit here, so we'll see whether or not he decides to go down and in. Tyler Snyder is already signaling as he comes up right beside Brooks, and they are right against each other here. What is the goal for Brooks? He looks like he's staying out on the track, coming by the commitment cone, and yes, indeed, so Terry Brooks takes the track position, and you see there the number 23. Now with the race lead here, Alex, it's a lot of time, but maybe it's feasible he goes all the way.
And maybe it is, David. I believe he was one of those earlier who had pitted and then kind of moved up through the field, so saving a bit of gas other than just being the direct leader, having to lift more than others. So Terry Brooks could maybe go to the end here, but as we get ready to get restarted just this lap, it's going to be interesting what his strategy truly is. He's been in the top 10 for a majority of this race. We've seen him push a lot of people and a few people to the lead. So being a leader himself, we'll just have to see what happens. But that number 23 has been fast all day long, and we're going to see what happens after the fact.
Double file this time by Terry Brooks, going to be the bottom, and then Caleb Morrissey right up top. It's going to be the 1-2 combo up here. Caleb Morrissey, a former winner at this circuit, of course, in the Highline Racing League, but he hasn't done it just yet with these Xfinity cars, and maybe for the first time he can get that opportunity and go for the race win in the brand new number 6. 16 laps to go this time by. Everyone getting set up once again, and overall, as it stands, you got a total of now 24 drivers on the lead lap, going back to J.R. Houston, and no faster pairs. However, Houston does still appear to be going, and when we look at J.R., that car is still driving, but there's not much else left to it, and I don't think he's going to have a chance to compete for the win for the rest of the night. Now everyone's bunched up, going to the 3 and 4, and we will be set for our second restart of the day, controlled and piloted by Terry Brooks.
I'll have you know, David, that I'm excited for this restart. 15 laps to go, coming to 14. A lot of these guys going to get aggressive off here. And before we go green, some of my thoughts are, I wonder if we're going to have another big one. We could see it. We could not. We're about to find out.
And here we go. Going to wait and see with the number 23 of Terry Brooks out in front. First time he's going to lead a lap under green here at Talladega, and we're going to find out whether or not he's got what it takes to hold on. Caleb Morrissey up top, a former winner at this venue. Maybe a chance to hone in on those old skills and bring it all back to life with 15 laps to go. Green flag going to fly this time through, and it's going to be Terry Brooks grabbing here and getting things going. Green flag's out, and Brooks brings us back for restart number 2.
Oh, trouble! The 6 and Caleb Morrissey's going to go around with Tyler J. Snyder. They keep it green, no caution. They are sliding down the backstretch. No caution is out still. Right now, it's Terry Brooks leading, Scott Wheeler Jr. behind him. Then, on the top side lane, there is the caution. It finally comes out.
Oh, but it's a two-car incident. Is that going to be worth it? Well, we'll find out here. Did anyone else get caught up? We're taking a look back. Brooks is going to be right in front, but then it was Tyler Snyder and Caleb Morrissey here, and we'll figure out the extent of it. It looks like they just came into each other and piled through, got going. Nobody else got involved. However, it's going to be a safety yellow flag regardless. And just like that, we are once again under caution. Morrissey and Snyder getting away with minimal damage, but we will bunch up the field again. That could have been much, much worse. And safety caution to make sure everyone's all right. And we'll get back at it once again live on FTN. Brooks is your leader. Kunman now second. And pause into the action once more.
Well, I'm telling you, David, as I was saying on that restart there, a lot of these guys are going to try and be aggressive here, and it's exactly what we saw. Caleb Morrissey and Tyler J. Snyder almost go completely around, and Tyler J. Snyder will save it. But, I was saying how that aggression level is going to jump up here, especially with these last 15 laps or so to go. Now when we go green, we're going to be green with about 10 laps to go. So even a shorter distance for these guys to manage. I just wonder if we're going to see something like that again later.
There's a chance now we do. We've gotten to the point where we're at the tail end of this race, and it's going to be more aggression until the very, very end. I would not be surprised in the slightest if we get a little bit more of that exciting racing, which gives way to perhaps a few more incidents now. Looking at Alan Cummin, he's going to drop down and in. Nobody else chooses to do so. And Cummin decides to stay right ahead and on top of the commitment cone, so he will not go down to pit road. A few drivers in the back of the field opt to. However, for Brooks and Cummin, 1-2 still, and it looks like that number 23 in particular decides to keep on going. Maybe with his caution, it's good for him because he won't have to run full pace through these laps, and they're still counting down. As such, Terry Brooks maybe now going to be good enough to go all the way and not have to worry at all about the overall situation regarding his fuel. He might be able to save just enough, get through the laps, and that's going to be all he needs as he runs up in front now the rest of the field, and Corey Blevins gets a lap back. 13 laps to go as pit road is slightly busy, and we'll take a look there and see what's going on.
Well, now that you mention that, David, coming back up on his issue, these cautions are going to help out the 23 to no end. Being able to stay up there, not only keeping your track position out front of the field, being able to save fuel under caution, you could save, if you think about it, the longer you're off the gas here rolling around, the more fuel you'll save. So if this is a 4-lap run and you only use 25% of the gas throughout the lap, that is a lap of fuel per 4 laps of caution. He could save almost an entire caution's worth per 3 cautions. If he's saving that much, he could be saving more. So this absolutely will help Terry Brooks.
Brooks might be in the standing to go all the way from here. We'll figure out whether or not it is possible. However, for the time being, it looks like still no signs of backing out. We're going to return to green. It looks to be lap number 60 of 70 tonight. So we're going to come back and have so little time left. We'll be immediately heading into that short sprint mindset. Every driver now going to be for themselves. And I'm sure you're going to see a little bit more of that risk-taking nature come into play in these final few laps. 13 laps to green. It's going to come down to only a dozen to do it, and even be less than that by the time we really go for it. Terry Brooks is going to maintain his lead after that minor incident gets us back under yellow, and it's going to be time to go at it once more here in Alabama. 3 restarts. It's going to be our third this time by of 3 cautions, and Brooks is going to have the opportunity to go high or low. What's the call right now for the number 23? We're finding out as Brooks comes across. It looks like it's going to be a few drivers coming through pit road, and Brooks going to the bottom. Just like that, his choice is made, and Terry stays right down low.
Well, that's an interesting call for Terry to stay on that bottom side lane. Alan Cunman chews up to the top with, you'll never guess who, Scott Wheeler Jr. Came oh so close just this past week in Tuesday at the race at Chicagoland. Could he come home in a walk-off win at Talladega? It would be incredible to see the 97 come back down to victory lane after oh so long. It might be the perfect Cinderella story.
Well, we'll see if he can get by the drivers who are just ahead here. Wheeler in a good position. Andy Siegel, who's been up all throughout the field from bottom to top. Maybe a chance for the first challenge to come to fruition. That's another story on the day. But here now, it's going to be more than stories. It's going to be more than the strategy. It's going to be 11 laps to go. Minimal opportunity from here. You do not want to waste any more laps. You just got to keep on going from here, and hopefully we don't see many yellow flags, because green flag time is limited and it is valuable.
Green flag time here at a super speedway is valuable no matter what car, track, race, or whatever position you're really in. The more time you can go green, the more time, if you're leading, you have able to control the lanes. You know, this is exactly what Terry Brooks wants. He'll be under caution, saving the gas he needs, but he still has his track position. He'll still be at the front, and he has Alan Conman to contend with, so he does have tough competition, but it's nothing Terry Brooks can't handle.
Now time to go at it all over again with Terry Brooks in control. He's got the 88 of Alan Conman right to his side, and it's going to be now time for the number 23 to lead us through. Pace car leaves us yet again. It's going to be time now for Terry Brooks to bring us back in with 11 laps to green. And all eyes are on the rest of the field that remains here, over 20 of which still going strong. 25 on the lead lap, with Brooks having his number 23 at the front of the field. Green flag and a fly again. Welcome to lap number 60. Terry Brooks leads us back in. We're underway for our third restarts.
Alan Conman blinking there on the outside now as Scott Wheeler Jr. able to get around him. Unconventional way to try and get the lead over someone, but it's Scott Wheeler Jr. for you now. 48 of Jimmy McKee right behind him. He's pushing him to try and get him to the side of the 23 of Terry Brooks. Now, coming across the line after the cross, about 10 laps to go. David, it's coming to a close here in Dega, and it's been an absolutely wild one. Now, we've seen three wide work before, but we've only seen it work for a couple of laps, and that's because people were starting to slot back in line and take things a little more carefully. Now, we may see that be different, as these guys have a lot more help on the top than what they did before. That bottom lane still edging out and being the more powerful lane, just in a sheer matter of numbers of cars. They have about 3 or 4 more cars in the back half of the field than the middle and the top combined. In fact, the middle and the top are about even when it comes to cars running. And this is going to be a key point in the race. Are they able to stay 3 wide, or are they able to make a move? Scott Wheeler Jr. sits in the middle with help from Jimmy McKee. Alan Conman up top with Dylan Poteet. Terry Brooks down at the bottom. That's Andy Siegel in that bottom side lane. These top 3 guys up here have been up in the mix for a while, and then you've got some wild cards up there like Scott Wheeler Jr. and Andy Siegel making their first appearances here in the top 5 in a while at all, first time in this race. So we're seeing a couple of new guys throwing their hand in for the win here in Talladega with just 8 laps to go.
3 wide, it's going to be just about the entirety of the field now stacked up together. Nobody going to give each other a break. And now as we move on to the single digits remaining, 62 laps in, and it's going to be Terry Brooks running on the bottom side with assistance from Andrew Siegel. Scott Wheeler, he's got the middle groove going with Jimmy McKee. Those two battled for victory just 2 weeks prior in the Premier Series. And also you got a little bit more help as Dylan Wedgwood gets a little loose, keeps it together, and we stay straight. The Swamp going to be up in front with multiple entries, notably DJ Stagner, and also looking Connor Holden, and maybe a little bit more from Ty Smith while we're looking at it further. 3 wide as they come across the line all over again, and now it's going to be a game of, it looks like now, which domino is going to fall first. It could be that everyone stays together until the very end. We're already in the territory. Next caution will send us into a 4-lap dash, if that, and it could be a green-white checkered when all is said and done. The amount of green flag laps we have is slowly but surely ticking down, and any caution could compromise the rest rest of this race, we could be heading into overtime involuntarily, and we could have as high as 73 laps on the day if all were to get a little bit shakier. Oh, it's another very big stack up there. That's because of Wheeler, and you can see how it all falls down. It's another one of those effects that everyone gets involved with, and it's going to be a chain reaction. Wheeler has to... Wow. Does he even see the rest of the field?
Whoa, Scott Wheeler Jr. with the save of his career, able to get back onto the bottom side lane. What an incredible save. And now he still has a chance for the win. Being stuck there on the bottom, Terry Brooks, Dylan Poteet goes to the block. Jimmy McKee goes to the low side, and he has his teammate Alan Cutman all the way up on the top, split by the 31 of Poteet. Now, these three leading these three lanes, it's been incredible racing by these three. What will they be able to do? Alan Cutman leads with DJ Stagner pushing him just behind. Then it's Dylan Poteet who leads that inside lane, or that middle inside lane. Then it's Jimmy McKee who trying to lead that inside lane with Terry Brooks right behind him. And then Scott Wheeler Jr. off the back of an incredible save, able to keep his winning hopes alive. Now, going through the rest of the field, we have Roberto Ramirez up in that middle lane as well, and Connor Holden trying to make something work. A lot of these guys going through these two lanes are really trying to work their way up through the front of the field. As the laps wind down, David, it's becoming closer and closer to the checkered flag. Now, 4 wide in the middle of the pack. It's going to be Wedgwood with Holden, with Scott Wheeler Jr. and Alan Cutman. They're all going to be 4 wide as we go down the back. Jimmy McKee now moves up to the top side lane. They are still 4 wide. Now, I believe that's Chad Winstead with a 4, and I believe they might sort it out now. Yes, they will. Wedgwood has the room up top.
Oh, it's going to be a very, very nerve-wracking run to the finish here, and I'm sure with Scott Wheeler making that save that everyone was on their toes. You saw the middle groove back off entirely for fear that if he came back into the pack, he would destroy everyone. Luckily, the 97 got things going again nicely, and now it's going to be Jimmy McKee taking that race lead. Going to be a load of Chevys up in front. Looks like the Blacktop boys control 2 of 3 lines, and Terry Brooks finds himself now alone in that number 23. Scott Wheeler going to wiggle down to the bottom, but can't quite get anything there. Maybe Jimmy McKee's going to go to the high side here. Maybe the option is there for him to do so, but it looks like he hasn't decided. He's got his teammate up there, so he knows he shouldn't have to worry about that. And you see there, Dylan Poteet going to bring Connor Holden, and that's going to drop the middle groove just about a car length back, and the momentum is going to be lost very, very quickly there. Connor Holden now going to bring Dylan Poteet up to the top of the board. He's got the lead, and they're 3 wide further on back with a taste of 4 wide in a few positions. However, right now looks like it's 3, 3, 3, and that's about 3 wide, 4 rows deep as they come across again with 4 laps to go. How about Connor Holden now up in front of the 81? He gets by Dylan Poteet and crosses right back over Alex. The 81 now in the spot to lead.
Connor Holden has shuffled his way through this field to one of the most important positions ever, leading that inside lane. Oh, as they hit the wall, but they save it and they keep it all together. Yes, they do. Oh my gosh, what a save. Connor Holden on that inside lane, working with Poteet. Then on the outside lane, Scott Wheeler Jr. able to get back up to leading a line, working side drafting with Poteet. Now he has Jimmy McKee right behind him. Roberto Ramirez slotting back and slowing down on that top side lane. Now, Tyler Snyder trying to make something work up there as well. McKee might ditch that middle lane. 2 laps to go now, 3 laps to go as we come now with Connor Holden. He's leading that inside lane. Can he make the magic happen? Does he try and go up and block Scott Wheeler Jr.? I don't think he does with help from Poteet just behind. What will he do down the back straightaway? He's made some decisive moves this race already. Does he make any more? Scott Wheeler Jr. in prime position for a win here at Dega, and he stays with Terry Brooks. Does not go anywhere, as right now it's Wheeler's race to lose. With Connor Holden on that inside lane, they're going to be neck and neck for the race lead. With Jimmy McKee running that outside lane, Roberto Ramirez jumps up to the top as we come with 2 laps to go here from Talladega. This racing has been exciting, no less. And they're going to be 4 wide for the race lead. There goes DJ Stagner with Connor Holden there on the inside lane. Jimmy McKee and Scott Wheeler Jr. They're 4 wide for the race lead. Not letting up anything. Now 2 wide, 4 wide for the second row. as they are still 4 wide. 2 laps to go, and here comes Scott Wheeler Jr., and there's the wreck. This is going to be the big one. There into the middle of the field, Jimmy McKee, decklets flying, trucks flying, and there goes a hood as there is 6 to 8 cars involved. We are going into overtime.
And it's time to head to the green-white checkered formula here. It's going to be Jimmy McKee among others, Ramirez, Colton Gardner, not to mention Ty Smith and DJ Stagner. All involved. Cross your favorites out. Most likely they just got caught in a piece. Here's a look back, and 4 wide doesn't tend to end well. Here's a look, and you will see what brought us to this incident. Looks like Jimmy McKee with DJ Stagner, Tyler Snyder, then a chain reaction, bringing McKee in. Matt Muir, Colton Gardner, Jacob Holmes. Hood flies right off, and so does Caleb Morrissey's. Not to mention, you also see there getting caught up in it, Adam Bozzi, and it is going to be a smoke show with trouble still. Looks like Colton Gardner got out the way, Corey Blevins too, and now Blevins going to be much slower on the track, so maybe the number 24 facing troubles. As you see, there's Jimmy McKee, Blevins catching up with the field here, and as such, everyone gets lined up again. 3 laps to go. We are heading into overtime. And it's our one and only green-white checkered attempt here, Alex. This is the one and done. If we get a caution, it's over regardless of what occurs.
We are at what's called the point of no return. We have no more green-white checkers available, and we can't rack them and restack them if they wreck after this. If the flag is flown, whichever flag is next will end the race in its entirety. And I got to tell you, honestly, even though they saved it that one last time, I was not expecting them to wreck. And when Jimmy McKee got turned around, I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be pretty. Right in front of that outside lane, like I said, referencing that Kevin Harvick quote, if you're on the bottom, you have a chance to avoid it. Run to the top, you just pile into it.
So Wheeler now going to have that edge. Connor Holden second. It's a 1-2 spot right there. Third is going to be Terry Brooks. Perhaps there's an opportunity right now for someone to climb through and go for a risky maneuver, but I think now tempers have flared just a bit. You see the racing getting very tight, 4 wide, and I think we both anticipated something to happen there with that 4 wide action, but it gave way to trouble before we got to the white flag. With that being said, maybe we'll see another caution, but I don't think anyone wants to risk having a yellow flag finish. Hopefully, we'll get everyone nice and calm for 1 lap so we can have 1 more lap of fun immediately after.
I got to tell you, David, we were saying how that 4 wide action may have caused something. They were almost 3 wide when they wrecked, so I'm, a little interested in the fact that they somehow kept it together when they were 4 wide and then just couldn't keep together when they were 3. Tyler J. Snyder apologizing to DJ Stagner, as that, he says, is what caused the incident. Well, these guys are going to have 1 eNASCAR overtime, and it's going to be exciting no matter what. I would hope that the admins don't throw a caution regardless of what happens, as Scott Wheeler Jr. is in prime position to come home with the first victory in a long time.
And right now, going to be 2 laps to green here. For those who don't know, and let's refresh just before we get at it yet again, it's going to be time for an overtime finish. So, with that being said, we don't have multiple attempts here in the Highline Racing League. It's a one-and-done green-white checkered. So, if we get a caution, the race ends no matter what. It's pretty simple. If we get to the white flag, we will not get a caution to end it, and we will go to the checkered flag. It's only 2 conditions. If we get to the white, we go till the end. If we get a caution, the race ends then and there. And using scoring loops on iRacing, we'll determine the winner and the positions for the finishing order as follows. Your winner going to be locked up, and scoring will be frozen, and we'll pace around for the rest of the night and conclude the race as that. Wheeler, top spot, finds himself up in front. Connor Holden going to be second, and Terry Brooks going to be in third. Let's see whether or not Holden goes to the bottom. It looks like he does, because Scott Wheeler opts to go up high.
Scott Wheeler Jr. is going to pick that top side lane, and, he's got to have a lot of faith in the man pushing him, and the man pushing him is Terry Brooks. So with these cautions, he's been able to save as much gas as he can. But will he have enough to push Scott Wheeler Jr. to the lead and possibly to victory? That's going to be one of the more important questions that we have to ask here in Dega. But then you also have to wonder, what's going to happen with the rest of the field. Connor Holden on that inside lane will want to do something. Poteet will want to do something. Kunman is going to try and work with everybody to try and get to that number one position again. And you also got to wonder what's going through the mind of some of these guys in the middle or backpack. Might they have a chance to come off with an absolute upset? If all of these guys wreck in the front, it could be down to an incredible finish, of which we may see a walk-off winner. Right now, it's going to be Connor Holden, and it's going to be Scott Wheeler Jr., who lead these first two lanes and are going to lead us back to green.
Time to get back at it, this time by Scott Wheeler. Going to find himself there in the 97, up to the top, and Connor Holden right down low. A few drivers to keep note of. We haven't seen all too much of that Red Bull number 70, Matt Muir. The best position he's been in all night long to go for it and perhaps get that checkered flag. The Toyota Supra number 70 going to be running there in 6th. And a great effort so far for Matt Muir to make it back up after previous troubles. Dylan Wedgwood, we've seen a few instances of him being a little all over the place, but overall, Wedgwood has not backed down. He is there in 7th spot. Austin Bloom rounds out the top 10, and Corey Blevins even finds himself in the top dozen. So even for drivers who have had previous issues before, they are still in it, and it looks like it's time to fight for the top spot all over again. It's going to be Scott Wheeler on the high side. He is your control car. Then right down low, it's Connor Holden bringing us back to green now with 2 laps to go. It's going to be Wheeler up top, and he's going to grab the gear first. Green flags out for a one and only overtime attempt. We're back on the way, and Wheeler gets the jump. They're side by side for second, and it looks like now as they roar through 1 and 2, it's a 5-car breakaway, and it's going to be composed of Kunman, Poteet, Brooks, and Connor Holden. Holden down to the bottom side, keeps it right down low, decides to build himself up with some speed with Dylan Poteet pushing right there. Dylan maybe looking for a back-to-back effort here to go for 2 consecutive wins. You're riding on board now with that number 31, and you can see he's got Connor Holden right ahead of him. Scott Wheeler opts to stay up high, and now we're taking
Whoa, 3 wide!
There goes Matt Muir. Muir's going to go down to the middle, and it looks like he gets under Brooks right on top there, the low side. Andrew Siegel coming alive as well, and it's going to be 1 lap to go. This time by, the field will make it back to the white flag. This race will be official. They're shuffling already, and Holden has it down low. Scott Wheeler's going to decide to keep it up middle.
Whoa, trouble!
Wrecking there
They go!
And right,
in the
you
back
see
of the
it.
pack.
Trouble, Lodano involving Dylan Wedgwood as well, but the leaders will stay clean and stay green as it's the final lap, and this is all they've got. Wheeler gonna decide to stay up on the middle side here. He's got a good run going with Matt Muir. Connor Holden getting shuffled back, maybe setting himself up for the rest of this one. Wheeler decides to go down to the bottom groove. The 3 wide for second. Now Scott Wheeler's got to defend as the swamping one goes down to the bottom side. He'll send Wheeler right up top. 2 more drivers wreck. Now it's going to be Holden looking low. Austin Bloom goes up high, then gets tapped. Now it's going to be Holden, and coming across the straight, the 81's got it. Connor Holden wins in Talladega.
What a race! What a race!
The flagship car for the Swamp Motorsports endeavor finally pulls through, and Connor Holden collects the checkered flag. Dylan Poteet second, and Tyler Hampton with a quiet third place rounds out the top 3. Checkered flags out, and Connor Holden gets the entire Swamp Motorsports crew with them, and they are set to burn down the house here in Talladega.
What an incredible walk-off win for Connor Holden. That was incredible. Able to thread the needle through all the chaos that was Dega here. And he'll walk off with a walk-off. And that is incredible. He's going down to the start-finish line to burn it down. What a win for Connor Holden.
Connor Holden going to continue his burnout here. You see him all the way up right by the front straightaway and burning it down for the fans here. He's got his teammates still waiting for him, and DJ Stagner and Ty Smith. And I think they're going to be due to take a few team photos together. And you can see, as a matter of fact, it's a 1-4-5 performance for the Swamp here. So close to locking up that podium, but it all came down to that final incident. And now time for a trifecta burnout. You see Stagner there. You also are going to see Ty Smith, and here they come together, set to burn it down as one.
Very similar to what River, Chase, and I did in Iora. And they're probably set it up better than we could, as I think they may be going for the 2 doubles.
Gonna blow up the motors on this one, but it's a victory worth celebrating. How about Connor Holden and a number 81 here? As the celebration continues, here are your overall race results for tonight's event. Checkered flag and a fly with Connor Holden, your winner, and Dylan Poteet in second, with Tyler Hampton third and DJ Stagner then fourth. It'll be Ty Smith, position number 5, with Chad Winstead sixth and Corey Blevins seventh. Then it's going to be 8, Tyler Snyder, and 9, Scott Zellner, with Andrew Siegel rounding out the top 10. Matt Muir, 11th, Austin Bloom, 12th, Lucas Lodato, 13th, and Scott Wheeler then going to be in 14th on the day. Position number 15 going to be occupied by Jimmy McKee, and then from there, you're also going to see Jacob Hahn in 16th. Caleb Morrissey is going to be 17th, then it's going to be Dylan Wedgwood then 18th, with Alan Cumm in 19th, and Terry Brooks rounding out the top 20. The final drivers on the day go as follows. You're going to see Adam Bozzi, Colton Gardner, Matthew Rodriguez, Roberto Ramirez, and J.R. Houston, with Brad Crest 26th, Kendall Kerr 27th, Dylan Body 28th, and Andrew Baker 29th and last on the day. Time to get a word from your top 3 finishers, and first tonight we're going to speak to your overall race winner, Connor Holden, who gets it done and collects the checkered flag. Let's get a word from our number 81 as Connor Holden pulls through and gets the race victory. It looks like right now, matter of fact, he is available for Connor, so let's bring him right in. Today, Connor Holden, it all came down to that green-white checkered finish. The 81 had speed all throughout from the very beginning, up in front, trading places, switching lanes, and all of the above. But tonight, it looks like avoiding the chaos and pulling through for your first victory of the season. It all comes down to that, and the 81 is in victory lane. Connor, what's it like?
Whoa, wait, am I getting interviewed right now?
Yep, we got you.
Oh, all right. Sorry. All right. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Well, we're doing good up here. What did we just see there? That race coming down to that finish at the line, just barely pulling through. How about that?
It goes back to Daytona. We were so strong at Daytona, and I always feel good about coming to Talladega and Daytona because end up running up front all the time. And Dylan Poteet did an amazing job there. He never let off. He didn't let off even after the caution came out. I knew once that restart picking the bottom, I knew I had the right pusher, and he did such an amazing job.
And it came down to you, Dylan Poteet, breaking away there with that 2-lap stretch. I'll tell you this much. We didn't quite know what to expect with that. 3 wide, 4 wide, and when the white flag flew, we knew you just had to get away from the trouble. So what was it like having to put so much trust there in the 31 to get away and have a chance at the win?
Well, I've known Poteet for a while, and he is so good at these racetracks, and I have full trust in him, and he did an amazing job there. I knew we were in a great spot once I think it was the 70. He made it 3 or 4 wide, and they started jostling, and we were in a great spot right there.
And the spot perfect to pull through, getting the race victory there. We got to discuss, of course, the rest of the race as well. Having speed, as you mentioned, it all goes back to Daytona. Knowing the opportunity was present today, what was it like in terms of just playing the race out with all 70-plus laps we had and getting yourself in the right place at the right time?
Well, I always feel the best place up here is up front, and we stayed up there all night, and I felt like the car was really, really good pushing, and it could lead very, very well. So, did a great job positioning ourselves there, and just so relieved. It's been 3 years.
And years of waiting for this moment, an opportunity. I think tonight, all worth it, collecting the checkered flag in Talladega. Connor Holden, you win here in Alabama. You have any final shout-outs or thoughts you'd like to give after this win?
Absolutely. So before I get to my fantastic, Swamp Motorsports teammates, I got to shout out Chad Sixstead for finishing sixth tonight. Good job on his part. But of course, everybody at Swamp Motorsports, Ty, DJ, and Ryan. Ryan unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. After this, Swamp's going to take a little bit of a break. We're a little burnt out for a little bit, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when that break's over, we'll come back guns blazing, and everybody at Holden Wieners, Jim's Breakfast, Smith Tank and Steel. Thank you, Roberto, for running Holden Wieners on the car this week. Car looked awesome. Everybody, Adam does a great job. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you all. And I got one last thing left for Alex. Is Alex here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, Stros ain't doing too good, buddy.
No, they're not. Oh,
no.
man.
So maybe tonight, after an off day and a win, maybe they'll start playing better and get back on the right track.
Oh, please. Oh, pretty please. If
yes,
only that could
sir.
happen.
That's all I got, David. If I don't stop talking now, and I'm gonna keep on going.
Well, there we have it. Connor Holden, victory in Talladega. We thank you for stopping by.
Thank y'all.
And with Connor Holden on the move, second place on the day, Dylan Poteet, you're going to be talking to him once again here. Alex, let's get your second place finisher in after a successful performance, of course, at Chicagoland. Let's move him right back up the order and bring him into the broadcast booth. Second place on day, and the 31 is currently standing by.
Dylan Poteet, man, oh man, close again. You almost went 2 for 2 on the week. You finished second. How are you feeling?
Well, being first loser is never fun. I guess I should just be happy I survived this race. My track record on the SuperSpeedways hasn't been the world's best lately, so I think I should just be happy that I actually got to cross the line facing the right way and not upside down or anything else. So the big red Ford Mustang was pretty good tonight. But just glad to have finished. I guess I should say is a good point tonight, but just wish I had a chance there at Connor. Just I got hit in the door in the tri-oval, and it just killed all my speed, and it was kind of the end of the race there. So,
Well, unfortunately, you come home second, and like you mentioned there, being first loser isn't great, but being able to weave through all the chaos gets you to that second place, and that is something in its own. You came all the way the first time we talked about you were 18th, and now you come home second. Tell me your drive through the field and how that went.
well, I thought at first I was going to try to move up and get to the front, but it seemed kind of chaotic. So I think me and Dylan Wedgwood, we kind of just had a plan just to kind of ride around for a while at the beginning of the race and just kind of stay at the bottom and just kind of ride, just put some laps down and just try to get the race going so we could get toward the end and everything. But honestly, we were trying to plan out pit strategy, and we just kind of got a couple yellows, and unfortunately, Dylan and Body got taken out that first big wreck, so we were just down to two of us, and kind of got split up there, and then at that point, we just kind of just did our own thing. If we found each other, we tried to work together, but we just kind of found whoever would work with us, and we got up there for a minute there. We were up on the front row, like running both lines, but I think Dylan got split by somebody, so we kind of were just there at that point, just fending for ourselves and everything, and just try to find somebody that you can trust to work with. And right there at the end, like I said, for me, I found Connor, and we got around that big wreck there, and we were restarted together. And I feel like at that point, if I couldn't really make a move right there, I was going to push him to the win, which that I guess basically happened. So congrats to Connor on the win. I think this is his first premier win. I'm not sure. I don't know if I could be quoted on that or not, but if so, then congrats on that. I really wanted this bad, but I just never had an opportunity to move to the second lane. I was going to follow him for a second, then he, I think, faked Wheeler out and went back down. Every time I tried to go the outside, the 70 was on my right rear, and I couldn't do nothing. So I was just kind of, at that point, just going to push the 81 to the win. So I had one slight look going into the trial, but it wasn't going to be enough. We were going to have a Regan Smith moment, and we actually mentioned that during the drivers' meeting. So I didn't want to be in that situation. I didn't want to wreck anybody. So all in all, it was a good night for the Team Chap House 31 Mustang, and just sucks to come up short. Never fun to finish second, like I said earlier, but I'm glad Connor was the one that won the race tonight, so I'm happy for him.
Well, Dylan, you come home in second place, and being first loser sucks, as you mentioned, but after getting through all the chaos, I think that was more than a great position to finish in. Congratulations on getting second place. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anyone else you'd like to thank?
I just want to shout out everybody at Team Trap House with Dylan Body, myself obviously, and then shout out to Dylan Wedgwood for working with us tonight. And Andy Siegel there at the end worked with us. The Swamp guys there worked with us there as well, and it was fun. Thank you guys for putting on another broadcast. They're always fun to watch, and appreciate everything you guys do. And thank you everybody at Highline, all the admins and everything for keeping this going and rolling as always. And had a pretty good race, pretty chaotic. It would end up a lot better than I thought. We just had a couple of wrecks there, here and there, but overall, great race, and couldn't really ask for more for a good Talladega race. These cars are super fun to run at the super speedways, and just honestly glad I didn't wreck anybody coming to the white like I did at Daytona. So I had those moments. So I was in the exact same spot I was in back at the first race of the season. So, but yeah, thanks for everybody watching, and we'll move on to the next race, wherever that is.
Well, congratulations on getting second place. Dylan Poteet, congratulations, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
The voice of number 31 Machine. He comes home at second. Dylan Poteet had a great charge all the way from the back half of the field up to second place. David, what a charge that was.
A great run for Poteet. One more driver you're going to be standing by with right now. Silent third place, in all honesty, for Tyler Hampton. Low of 24th, and he went all around, making a charge in the last lap to move up to third for the first and only lap he was inside the podium. But it's a finish in the top three. And Alex, now we got Tyler Hampton right with us.
Tyler Hampton, a silent and sneaky third place there as you squeak your way by onto the podium. And after all the chaos that erupted there at the end of that race, to walk me through how you were able to get through it.
Not silent and sneaky. I'd say more lucky than anything. That was all just pure luck. Me and Chad was kind of texting there at that last restart, and I was going to do my best to try to just help push him. And of course, I had a bad restart, and then I was just trying to play catch up after that. And I finally got to him about when they had that first wreck. It happened so fast. I had to go back and look at it. And then I got through it, and going into 3, I seen that they were, chopping each other pretty hard. And I was like, well, I bet they're going to wreck, but if not, I'll take a top 10 or 11, whatever I was. And man, they wrecked, and I just kept it to the floor and tried to shoot for the gap, and squeaked out a third. So that was more luck than anything, but I'll take it. I struggle at these plate tracks. 9 times out of 10, if there's a wreck, I'm always involved. So I'll definitely take a third place here.
Third place is nothing to squawk at as you're able to get through here. Dega, for the first majority part of the race, it went pretty clean and green up until the end, and then, you kind of had a couple of cautions there, in the mix as well. So tell me about the field's aggression overall, especially as the race progressed over time.
It seemed like it was all right for the most part. I know I was just trying to ride. That's all my game plan was try to ride and then just get the best finish I could. I wasn't going to try to go up there and try to push the issue on anything. I think after the one caution, I kind of get up to like 5th or 4th, just staying on the inside line. And of course, like any kind of plate race, as the race winded down, it started getting more dicey, and there was more taken than there was given. So that's why I started following back there, and luckily I'm glad I did when I did, and it just played in my favor. But I think overall, it was clean. granted, I mean, there's going to be some guys that wants to go up there and lead, and that's fine. That's great. But I've never been that kind of person. I just like to ride in the back for a while and then try to make my way up there at the end.
Well, able to make it through all the way to third at the end. Well, Tyler Hampton, is there anyone else you'd like to say or anything else you'd like to thank?
I'd just like to thank Dylan for he's made me a couple of badass paint schemes this year. I got to appreciate all his help for doing that. And thanks to everybody that puts this on and you guys for calling the shots. I really enjoy watching the races afterwards and seeing it from your guys' point of view.
Well, once again, congratulations and thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys.
The voice of number 5, Tyler Hampton, comes home third, and maybe he is right, David. Maybe just a little bit lucky to make it through that final wreck.
And luck's what he got there to make it through, getting by and making it inside the podium. Hampton going to be third on the night. Dylan Poteet going to be in second. And Connor Holden gets the win and coming through years of waiting. But tonight, it all pays off. And Alex, before we leave tonight's event, of course, moving on to our next race in action on Saturday night, time to finally reflect upon Talladega. You got any final thoughts for us?
Well, Talladega sure was one heck of a race here, David. A couple of cautions there in the mix. Changed the game plan up for a little bit for a lot of people, but really that clean and green stint we had was truly great. When you get to see green flag plate racing, it is something incredible, and I have no doubt in my mind that Talladega will be back to the schedule next season.
Well, we hope to see Talladega return, of course, in Highline competition, and we hope to see you all return next Thursday for the remainder of our coverage here. The season winding down, and we find ourselves next up on the Highline Racing League Premier Series schedule. This time around, we will be visiting another familiar track, and that is going to be Dover for 140 laps of racing down in Delaware, so make sure to stay tuned. You've been watching exclusive coverage of the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series live on FTN. I've been David Kreutz, joined today by Alexander Balderas from virtual Talladega Superspeedway in the Talladega 300 km. We hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation, and if you did, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching live on FTN, and we hope you have a great night.